good? That's like Jeopardy. Okay. I'd like to call to order the Township of Concord Reorganization regular meeting for January 3rd, 2023. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First item on the agenda this evening is an election of president and vice president of councils. Colleen, I think you were going to take care of that for us.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Dominic Pileggi as president, John Gillespie as first vice president, and John Crossan, I'm sorry, as second vice.
Only two of them here.
Second vice president. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, at the call of the chair, now we're the president, now that I'm it, we're going to jump in the agenda to Roman numeral 10, certificates of recognition, Brandywine Youth Club, 9U and 11U varsity football teams. Larry, I'm going to give you the honor of making these presentations.
Sounds good. Thank you. Recognizing the Brandywine Youth Club 2022 9U varsity football team. Whereas the Township of Concord, Delaware County, Pennsylvania is proud to recognize the achievements of young people in our community, and whereas the endless hours of practice and dedication have allowed the 2022 Brandywine Youth Club 9U varsity football team to achieve great success. Whereas the 9U varsity football team are the 2022 Independent Youth Football League champions, the 2022 American Youth Football League Pennsylvania State champions, and the 2022 Big East semifinalists. Whereas these victories are quite an accomplishment thanks to the support from their parents, community, and coaches. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Council of Concord Township does hereby acknowledge and applaud the outstanding accomplishments of the 2022 Brandywine Youth Club 9U varsity football team.
So that is in the form of a motion. Would somebody like to second that one?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye, and I think you have another
Aye.
one there too, right?
All right,
Congratulations.
guys. Good job, you guys.
I did mean not to clap, but I thought he was going to do the other one and clap all at once, but we'll do it twice. Okay, you got a second one there too, Larry?
I do. Recognizing the Brandywine Youth Club 2022 11U varsity football team. Whereas the Township of Concord, Delaware County, Pennsylvania is proud to recognize the achievements of young people in our community. And whereas the endless hours of practice and dedication have allowed the 2022 Brandywine Youth 11U varsity football team to achieve great success. Whereas the 11U varsity football team are the 2022 Independent Youth Football League champions and the 2022 American Youth Football League Pennsylvania State champions, remaining undefeated and unscored upon. Whereas these victories are quite an accomplishment, thanks to the support from their parents, community, and coaches. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Council of Concord Township does hereby acknowledge and applaud the outstanding accomplishments of the 2022 Brandywine Youth Club 11U varsity football team.
That's also in the form of a motion. Would somebody like to second that?
Second.
Before we vote on that, I would like to acknowledge a very good friend of Concord Township sitting here in the front row, Kevin O'Donoghue, who served many years with Colleen and I both up here on council. And I was sure that if it was something to do with kids, there had to be an O'Donoghue on here somewhere. So I was right. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations to those guys. I think, Larry, I think the plan, Larry, I think the plan is we're going to try to take a picture, but we'll do the 9.
Coach Frost
9U.
and the 9U first. And I haven't played for BYC since the 90s. And for some reason, my jersey that I did find in my closet looks a little different than your guys, but it doesn't fit anymore. So, good finals back there. So, yeah, 11 please.
I think Mr. Crossan, and that's why he's the second vice president, had a great suggestion. We're going to stay up here so you guys can get down there. It might be easier to fit everybody in. So I'll let the coaches take it from there.
Here you go, coach.
Congratulations, guys. Good job.
Here, I'm going to move over to Dana. Dana.
Can we, I don't know, squeeze them together?
We can't. We're immune. We can't. We're immune. We're on the clock.
We're silly as it is.
Yeah, you're really up. We got drinks. Should be fine.
Great job.
Thanks, guys.
Good job.
Now, let's get the other group up here.
Good job.
Good job. Take care. Thanks. Congratulations. 11U. Okay.
If the
and now we'd
11U
like the
team-
11U.
Congratulations.
Cool is not being silly. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, yeah. You're good. I heard Kevin O'Donoghue was buying them all pizza. No? There's Goble in the back. Okay. All right, we'll get back to our agenda. The next item on the agenda is citizen comment. Anyone with any comments regarding anything on the agenda or issues in the township? Now's the time to come forward, please. Gene, come on up. It looks like you're ready to rock.
Mr. Goble, can I just ask you a question? You can come up. Do you want us to also read off your emailed public comment? Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Is that on? Amanda, is that microphone on? There you go. You good, Mr.
Thanks. So, a bit of a catch-22. Public comment is supposed to come before official action, but it's hard to comment when we don't know what the official action is. Amanda's done a great job of putting a lot of the information in the public package, but it's not all there. So we could try to improve on that. In particular, resolutions 1 through 14 are in the public package, but resolution 15 on decorum is not. Can you provide any details on what you're going to be voting on later this evening regarding resolution 15, public decorum?
I'm sorry, I missed the last part of what you said.
Resolution 15, public meeting decorum. That's the only one of the 15 resolutions not in the public package. So,
I can comment because that was still in draft and we didn't have it ready and it went out earlier than when my person was out on vacation. So that's the truth.
We could give him a copy now, that's no problem.
No problem at all.
okay, but, you know, in the future, as a request, it's tough to
Observation noted. Thank you.
read this and waste people's time and your time and.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to a 3-minute timeline. Oh, it's draft. So are you going to be voting on a draft tonight, or is it going to be?
Everything is draft until it's approved by council.
Oh, gotcha. All right, so this is what you're voting on.
We will be acting on that and considering it. And then there will be discussion on it. If there are any changes, then we will make the necessary changes and then possibly take a vote on it.
Okay,
But it's in the batting order on the agenda.
understood. Concord Road North, also on the agenda. That affects me. I would like to have been able to see all those details before you presumably vote on something. I don't know what's up with Concord Road North.
I think that's for approval to award the contract for the sewer and water installation. We've been working on that for a number of years. Our township sewer engineer has designed the system. We received the bids, and we are hoping to award it tonight to the lowest responsible bidder. As in the past with other projects the sewer department has taken on in the township, when it concerns a different neighborhood, a specific neighborhood or a specific set of roads, as this does, there will be a public meeting announced in the future, and we will go over the specific details of how the sewers will be run, and where the connections will be made, and things of those
But-
issues.
The public meeting is after your vote, which
Now,
is okay.
the public meeting is purely an informational meeting. We are going to install the lines
Yeah,
along that road. It's more technical in nature. Like, people will ask us, where are you going to come in onto my property? And
well,
we will
you
answer
don't know
those
what,
questions.
with all due respect, you don't know what they're going to ask. For example, 2 years ago, they sent out the letter saying, you know, it's going to come, right?
Right.
So in my particular situation, which I won't go into, but I knew there was going to be an issue, so I reached out and had a conversation. And they showed me what their temporary plan was 2 years ago. And I said, hey, you missed these 3 properties. Oh, thank you, Mr. Goebel, our GIS map is off. Had I not done that, I'd be showing up at this future public meeting to say, hey, I missed this, which then affects what the dollar amount you guys are voting on. So it can be much more than just that.
Sir, we've done this before. I appreciate you letting us know about those 3 properties. And
It's an example. Well, so my suggestion is, when you have a new line like this,
Yeah.
you should have a public meeting with the folks that are affected before it comes to this stage, so that there's an opportunity to bring up potential issues.
Okay.
The township
We'll take that
doesn't know everything.
Take that into consideration for the future.
Can you tell me what the total cost of Concord Road North is?
We will be announcing that when we award the bids tonight.
So public comment is supposed to come before a vote. So I guess I can go sit down, and when you say what the number is before you vote, then I'll say, I have the right to comment?
We prepared a bid package. We publicly bid it per the rules and regulations of the state of Pennsylvania.
That's fine.
We are awarding it to the lowest responsible bidder.
And you
Our
can't tell me that number.
I'll give it to you now if you want. But
Yes, please.
sure.
And the reason I ask is because I have from sewer department from 2 years ago and it's just an estimate of what the costs are going to be, because then my next question is going to be, this project was delayed for a year and a half because there was cost savings for combining the sewer with this building's public water. So that's great. There was cost savings from paperwork standpoint, from what, I don't know, putting the sewage and the water supply in the same ditch. So there's cost savings there, but how much did it cost the other folks by having this put on hold for a year and a half? And so I don't expect you to answer this, but bottom line, my understanding is we don't have any public sewage, public meeting. Is that correct?
No, the sewer department is a division of the township, similar to the...
Understood.
Pardon? Similar
They're
to
a
the
public
highway
meeting.
department? No, because it is a part of the
But you
township.
just said yes.
So we always announce everything as part of the
So-
sewer report. So yes, it is very public, our sewer information. Also, you already noted you received a letter several years ago. Additionally, you've met with my engineer separately to have conversations with the
call.
assistant manager and the engineer.
Right.
And we've answered multiple emails with a lot of your questions.
And you
So
haven't
there's
answered them
nothing-
all, but I'm one of
Okay,
the 80 or 90 people affected, and I haven't had all my questions answered.
But we always have, once they have the project in scope, so that what's the first question everybody asks us when it comes to a sewer project? How much? And we don't know that until we get through the public bidding process.
Oh, I understand.
So we hold the meetings with the public at that time.
Okay.
But
The base bid for the low-pressure sewer was $858,892.50. The alternate for the Chester Water Authority water main extension was $523,670. And the alternate township bid for the complex water system, which is on this site, is $161,230. Total bid price of $1,543,792.50. McKinney Construction was the low bidder. They've been doing this work for the last 40 years. They have worked on very many projects here in Concord Township and in the area. And our engineer is comfortable with his bid and is ready, and they are ready to start when we're ready to start the project.
I'm
He
sorry.
recommends awarding the project to McKinney Construction in the amount of $1.5 million plus or minus.
Didn't quite catch it all. Was the 1.5, is that inclusive of the public water?
Public water and the work.
How much was just the sewer, not the
Sewer
water?
part of it
Was
is
the
about
first number,
860,000.
860, okay. And does that include a 25% contingency? You don't know.
When we come in here and we talk that night to the residents that are impacted, we will have all those numbers on a per house basis.
Okay. Is 5 and 7 Quaker Lane hooking up?
Can't answer that. You ought to wait till the night we have that meeting.
So if that happens at
Can't answer
meeting
that.
next month and there's some issue,
Can't-
Mr. Donahue going to say, too
Can't-
bad, Mr. Goebel, you
Sir,
didn't make comment
sir,
January the 3rd.
Third, as I said, we're going to have a meeting with all the residents that are impacted by that line. Questions of that nature are best served waiting for that meeting so you can ask about the specific project.
All right, let me ask it more generally. If somebody brings something up that changes cost for some reason,
That has happened in the past, not changes cost, but perhaps changes the scope of work. Sometimes it might result in additional costs, sometimes it won't. We handle that on a case-by-case basis in every subdivision we've been doing for the last 6 years. And yes, things come up. We drew it on
Yeah.
a piece of paper, and we got there, something was different, we had to make a change in the field or something like that. That happens.
There's
But
some-
that's specific to this project, and I'm
I
not
get
even
it.
going to field any more questions.
Oh, I
on this
understand. It's
issue
not appropriate
tonight
for this meeting,
until
but
we
there's
come
no
here-
public meeting.
Until we have the meeting with the residents that are in this service area. So please, no more questions about the sewer.
Okay.
You'll get your chance to take as much
My
time
last
as you
comment
want.
tonight is on the agenda, you have some false meeting notes from the November 15th. Is there a way to correct that, or do you
I think
believe
the minutes
theirs?
will be voted on and approved, and
Pardon me?
if it has to do with the minutes, we will be voting on the minutes and approving them at that time. I don't see where anyone, if someone wants, one of the members wants to make a change to the minutes as they are shown, we will act then. But right now, I don't think there's any anticipation in changing anything in any of the meeting minutes we're acting on this evening.
Okay, the meeting minutes from November 15th are wrong. I was
Thank you.
objecting to them. Do you want me to stand back up at that moment in time, or?
No, you've made your objection known, we're fine.
If you'd like to state the specific objection now.
Yes, you were all emailed.
Well, we have it in writing, right?
Pardon me?
We have it in writing. You sent it in earlier, didn't you?
Yes, you have my objection.
Okay, so fine.
Why what you put is patently false.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Happy New Year.
Ken Hemphill, 39 Millrace Place. I was curious if the township could organize some sort of a work detail to finish the Chetty wall, Featherbed. There's like 50 feet that needs to be
No,
finished.
I think it's a little more than that.
I'd love to volunteer. It's something the community could all help with under the supervision of the Chettys if they were agreed or something like that.
Yeah. So the wall that you're referencing is part of the, is under the land that's eased, but it is still owned privately by the Chettys, and so it's not township public property. And so that's really at the discretion of Mr. and Mrs. Chetty if they would like to engage the public at all.
Would the township reach out to them and see if they would be interested?
Ken, have you had any conversations? Do you think there's any interest from them? Or, I mean,
Well-
I think it sounds like a great idea. They've done such a wonderful job, but I didn't know
I
if
think
they'd
they've
have any
probably
interest.
just gotten to that point where they're just can't continue it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I think they'd love to see it finished.
Yeah, we're happy to bring it up to them.
Worst they can say is
and
no.
and
Yeah.
see if they say yes or no. But
You got it.
they certainly will let us know. So I'll ask them though.
You got it.
Great, thanks, Ken.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right along in the agenda. Next item is,
The
oh,
email.
you have the ones, that's
Yes.
true, the ones that
Yep.
were called in.
So we did receive 3 emailed public comments, but I'll note again, Mr. Goebel has addressed his in person, so I'm not going to read his. We did receive one from Miss Holly Taylor on 53 Ruby Road, and she says, given the uptick in car break-ins and catalytic converter thefts in the area, will the township launch a study in 2023 on the feasibility of forming a regional police force with other municipalities or a township PD to patrol and enforce local ordinances?
And what were the other comments?
And the other one was from Mr. Cleary, and he's at 72 Schoolhouse Lane. And his comment is, can you provide an update to any planning or decision-making with regards to installing a deceleration lane on Route 1 south at Schoolhouse Lane for vehicles turning right onto Schoolhouse Lane? This question was originally posed at the September 2020 meeting, and no update has been provided since.
With regard to the second one, I think the minutes from last month reflect that we did talk about it, and we've been talking about it every month, and we're going to talk about it again tonight, correct, Nate? Okay. And as far as the one with the police, many, many years ago, we had a town hall meeting in the old church, the brick building, regarding this same issue. And perhaps, and I'll defer to Vanita, maybe sometime during the year, we might want to have another meeting of that sort. The biggest impediment to our own police force was the cost. At that time, municipalities of the same population of us were spending between $3 and $4 million on their police department. Right now, those same departments are spending between $6 and $7 million on a police department of a similar size that would be required here. Keeping in mind that I think our total real estate tax only brings in about 1.5 million.
That's correct.
So if you got to make up 6 million, then you got to have a 400, you got to raise times 5, because you need to raise another $6 million. But it would be possibly worthwhile having that meeting again, just so everybody knows what's going on.
And that would be, those costs that you referenced are annual operational costs, not establishment costs.
As I said back then, that's assuming we came here tomorrow and the radios were here and the police cars and the coffee and the donuts were on the counter. And that doesn't even cost building it. And the FOP, we would determine how many officers we need. So we have to deal with that whole issue too. But I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but there is a cost involved. So we ought to be educating the public on what that would cost.
Sorry, Mr. Tucker, you don't.
Let me think. 0.
Well, your state taxes pay for that.
There's no marginal additional cost for the state police operation. And I think, well, Trooper,
It's a worthy question, and we just might need to have another education session like we had that night.
and I think it's also worth addressing kind of the overall premise of the police as well, in terms of, I'm not sure why I'm so hot, but as to what our general crime statistics are, and if there is an increase relative to prior years, or if our crime statistics are at variance with communities that have police forces, because sometimes I think that there's an assertion that our community is less safe because we don't have a local police force, and communities that do have them are suddenly safer, have no traffic violations, no speeding, no thefts, etc. And I'm not sure that the data actually supports that.
And you also saw that 2 elderly people that was killed in fight yesterday.
Yeah.
So again, that's why some might.
I think, as I said, we might just want to have that town hall meeting environment again. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, even if we decided tonight, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a long-term project. Okay? Next is, I forgot to mention, we met in executive session earlier this evening to discuss litigation. The rest of the agenda right now is the appointment of township officials and professionals. And we would need a motion to approve the township manager and secretary as Amanda Sirach, open records officer Lisa Waldron, tax collector Lou Girolami, vacancy board chair Marge Frank, emergency management coordinator Fred Field, fire marshal and deputy emergency management coordinator Bob Vasek, township solicitor and alternate open records officer Donahue and Labron, Yuhei Donahue, sewer department solicitor Jerry Montella, zoning hearing board solicitor Ray Falzone, alternate zoning hearing board solicitor Sean O'Neill, planning commission solicitor Michael Wraith, township and traffic engineer Pannoni Associates Nate Klein, township sewer engineer Bradford Engineering Walt Fasler, township land planning, landscaping and lighting services Tom Comita Associates Thomas Comita, certified public accounting for financial auditing Lights on Economides, animal control officers Brandy Valley SPCA and Alan Strickler, third-party inspection and plan review for accessibility BIU code enforcement, and third-party electrical inspector Code Inspections, Inc., and United Inspection Agency. Do I have a motion to make those appointments?
I second it.
So moved?
Second.
Okay,
So moved.
okay.
Wait,
You were supposed to motion, and she was supposed to second. John made the motion, Benita seconded.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying
Aye.
These are the worst meetings of the year at this point. All right, next is the appointment to township committees. We need a motion to appoint to the Building Code Board of Appeals. They're all one-year terms. Daniel Accione Jr., Joseph Barbado, Joe Cliff, Frank Lamanna, Ray Sharp, and Michael Wraith as solicitor. Do we have a motion to make those appointments?
I'll make a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the establishment of the bonds for township officials. We would need a motion to establish the bonds in the amount of $1 million for the township treasurer and $805,158 for the tax collector. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Next is the designation of the fire EMS services to Concord Township residents, to designate Concordville Fire and Protection Association for Fire EMS Services to serve Concord Township residents. Do we have a motion for that appointment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the designation of newspapers of general circulation for publication of township notices. We need a motion to designate the News and Press of Delaware County and the Delaware County Daily Times. Do we have a motion to do so? We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the designation of the official delegate to the PSATS convention. Do we have a motion to recommend John Gillespie as that delegate? Yep. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We did the certificates of recognition. Upcoming meetings and events. January 5th is the Park and Rec meeting. Was that canceled? I got an email that was canceled.
I think they're still having one this
All right.
Thursday.
This week.
January 11th, Historical Commission meeting. January 16th, the township offices are closed for Martin Luther King holiday. January 17th, Planning Commission meeting. It's a Tuesday due to the holiday on Monday. January 18th, Zoning Hearing Board meeting. January 31st, ordinance hearing on the zoning map amendments, comp plan amendment at 7 p.m. here in this building. Next is report. Dana, you have the finance report?
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. So the finance report for quarter end of December 31st, 2022, our fund balance policy transfers have been proposed and are on the agenda for later tonight. These transfers are to keep operating funds in compliance with the township's fund balance policy while still maintaining sufficient cash flows for operating purposes to start the new fiscal year. It is important to note that when reviewing our unaudited 2022 budget versus actual, our actual operated revenues and expenditures were within 2% of budgeted expectations. Our current operating revenues as of December 31st, 2022 is a total of $4,064,272. Total operating revenues equal 102% of budgeted revenue. Current year-to-date real estate collections is $1,546,309, and this equates to a collection rate of 98% compared to total budgeted revenues. Act 511 taxes at year end was a total of $1,632,394, and it accounts for 40% of current operating revenues. License and permits revenues did not meet budgeted expectations due to large commercial projects that were expected to break ground in 2022, but we expect these projects to pick up in 2023. Our current revenue exceeding budget expectations by $65,122, and the township is still waiting on numerous December and fourth quarter receipts. Example, regulatory transfer taxes, cable franchise fees, Act 511 taxes. These revenues will be received and recorded as receivables upon receipt, which will increase year-end revenues. For our expenditures, as of December 31st, they totaled $3,908,112, and it equates to 98% of the budget expenditures. The township was able to maintain operating expenditures within budget while also being able to make operating transfer to the capital reserve fund to help with future planned capital projects. The township has numerous ongoing grants that the finance department is working with township engineers to move forward for the planning phases to construction. The finance department is working with township engineers to submit reimbursements for grant expenditures as soon as they are incurred and to be able to be submitted for reimbursement. The finance department is also working with the township engineers to begin planning and bid packets for the planned 2023 capital projects per the township's 5-year capital plan as noted in the 2023 township budget. Thank you.
Okay. Public safety, Vanita.
Thank you, Mr. President. Happy New Year to you all, and hope you all had a great holiday. Based on the fire monthly report presented by the fire marshal of our Concord Township, we had total of 36 events, of which 9 were motor vehicle accidents and 11 were accidental auto alarms. As you all know, we are coming back today after a holiday, therefore we don't have the report coming in from PSP. We do appreciate the concerns of our residents regarding safety issues, including thefts, etc. Lieutenant Sunderland is unable to be here in the meeting today, but has summarized for us that while catalytic converter thefts and car thefts have become a national issue with skyrocketing numbers everywhere, our immediate area incidents on these events are relatively very low. The police report categorizes it as car part thefts, which also includes but is not limited to catalytic converters. Our township had total of 15 events of these car part theft incidences for the year of 2022. Having said that, for us, every event is one too much. And to that end, we are exploring different options that we will share with you all before implementation. As you all know, we are looking at LPR cameras and we are looking at collaborating with neighboring towns if possible. In fact, Officer Sunderland is at the Chadsford meeting this evening for this very reason. As an FYI, according to the National Insurance Crime Bureau, vehicle and catalytic converter thefts and carjackings have continued to plague many cities in the United States. The catalytic converter thefts have increased nationwide by 1,215%, just to give a perspective. Thank you.
Crossing, you have anything on open space, trails, and recreation?
The only update is that we had applied for 2 grants to the County Greenways Program, but unfortunately we did not receive either of those. One was related to the Wilcox Conservation Easement. The other was general improvements to the Smithbridge Road Park. But while neither of those grants were received from the county, we will continue to move forward with both of those projects.
Since Mr. Gillespie isn't here, Dana, would you mind doing sewer and public works?
Sure. So the sewer report for the month of December 2022, we had performed 5 sewer lateral inspections for property resales. This brings the total lateral inspections to 101 for the whole year. The sewer department also responded to 39 Pennsylvania one-call notifications in the month of December. The Concord Road North Sewer and Water Project bid is on the agenda for approval later in the meeting. And the annual sanitary sewer maintenance contract bids will be opened on December 28th with a recommendation tonight as well. The sewer department staff, along with the help from the maintenance contractor, performed the annual cleaning of the main plant effluent outfall line that discharges off of Polecat Road. The influent line cleaning is a requirement per NPDES permit issued by the DEP. For Public Works, the month they assisted with the Park and Recs setting up the annual Concord Township holiday event that was attended by many residents. The departments worked in tandem to prepare for the event. In part of landscape, they went and performed clearings of overgrown roadside vegetation to improve drivers' line of sight and to keep vehicles safe from encroachment of debris. The department also continued fleet maintenance to be ready for the winter weather conditions. The team greased all vehicles, repaired bearings, brakes, and performed proactive checks for vehicle safety on the roads. The department also regarded multiple areas on Polecat Road and at the driving areas at Bush Hill Farm. The regarding was to alleviate unsafe driving conditions as a result of road decay and regutting. Additionally, storm drains were cleared on all streets for proper drainage, and pothole repairs were made for driver safety. Thank you.
Okay. Building and code enforcement. Colleen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our permits issued in the month of December were very similar to the number issued prior year. We had 56 permits issued that range from building, plumbing, mechanical, electrical, fire code, zoning, and solicitation permits, compared to last year being 58. So 2 permits less than prior year. So we're seeing similar permitting throughout the township as last year. We had 10 residential resale certifications and 1 commercial recert, and we had 19 condition COs issued. There were 3 new businesses that requested tenant fit up: Yoga 6, which is on Evergreen Drive, Trinity Rehab, also on Evergreen Drive, and Family Medicine at Mainline Health. And lots of permits for roofs at this time of the year.
Thank you. Larry, Planning Commission?
Yes, Planning Commission activities for December 2022. The Planning Commission agenda meeting was canceled for December 12th, and the public meeting was also canceled for December 19th. Scheduled for this month, the agenda meeting will be held on January 9th, and the public meeting will be held on January 17th. That's it.
Thank you. Solicitor, Mr. Donahue.
Yes, sir. Be advised that the Concord Ventures has filed an appeal regarding the court's denial of their mandamus motion. Also be advised that council has met, as Mr. Pileggi has indicated, in executive session regarding a right-to-know appeal. The court term and number being 2022-007756. I have recommended, and council agrees, that if possible, the matter be resolved by way of a settlement agreement at no cost to either party, and we will proceed accordingly. Thank you.
Township Engineer, Mr. Klein.
Good evening. Thank you on behalf of my colleagues at Pannoni for our reappointment this year. Looking forward to another great year. A couple brief updates following up on Mr. Crossan's comment regarding the 2 grants for Delco Greenways we did not receive. In the good news column, the DCNR grant monies we did receive for the Pocket Park on Beaver Valley Road, as well as the improvements to the Township Park on Smithbridge Road. We have started the process of the grant agreement process with DCNR, and we've scheduled kickoff conversations with our DCNR rep for the month of January to start figuring out how to get those projects rolling forward. So more to come after we have that call here later this month. Additionally, we were successful in extending the grant terms for both the Octorara Trail Project and the First State Connector Trail Project. Both of those are DCNR grants. First State, we will be getting started this year. Octorara, as everybody knows, and I've mentioned before, the difficulties we've had with PICO. I am optimistic that we will have some solutions and some ideas literally in the next month or so on realigning that to something that PICO can agree to, at which point we'll be approaching council on the additional cost to redesign that trail for those utility concerns. So more to come here in the spring, but should be a good year for grant projects, parks, and trails.
Thank you. Township Manager, Amanda.
We have a lot in the agenda, so I'll just keep it short and say Happy New Year, everyone. We have a lot of exciting things coming up this year and a lot of things we're trying to tackle, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity once again to work for an amazing group of people and look forward to the year ahead.
I thought you were going to keep it short. No. Okay, next under the agenda is the business items. Amanda, these were posted on the website earlier?
Yep.
Okay. Under consent agenda, we have the following items that are going to be considered and acted on. One is the approval of the special meeting minutes of November 5th, 2022. 2, council public meeting minutes of December 6th, 2022. Dana, you have the expenditures, I think, for the month?
Sure. So the total expenditures is $589,073.04, and that consists of December payroll for $212,142.77, current bills totaling $278,233.18, and the sewer bill totaling $98,697.09.
Okay, and per the recommendation of our finance director, we would be making the following transfers from the sewer operating transfer to the sewer capital transfer account committed to infrastructure of $2 million, and from the township general fund, we're going to transfer to the township capital fund unrestricted $300,000. Also have a payment to be made to Old Philadelphia. It's the request for payment number 3 for $75,270.40. That was for the work to repoint the stone on this building and recaulk all the joints. We were getting a lot of water in the building. We've been replacing some lintels. It's an old stone building and it requires a lot of TLC. Next is would be the bid awards for the sewer maintenance contract. Would be awarded to Moore. We have it here. Moore Construction. They currently have it now, and it would be awarded for a 3-year term. They were the successful low bidder. The other would be for the award of the Concord Road North Sewer and Water Extension Project to McKinney Construction. I read the numbers earlier into the record. We would also be having the following financial releases. Mainline Health for their final bond release from the sewer department of $105,446.50, and Mainline Health for their final bond release for the township work of $2,499,496.29. Also would be approving under the consent resolution the following resolutions. First resolution is the tax collector compensation, and for 2023 would be a base rate tax collection shall be $3 per bill. Interim bills, the tax collector shall be compensated $3 per interim bill. Duplicate bills will be compensated $10 for every non-resident duplicate bill request and $25 for every expedited non-resident bill request. Tax certification, tax collector shall be directly compensated by the requester $20 for every non-resident certification request and $25 for expedited non-resident request, and a research fee of $25 request pertaining to a folio number. Also, resolution number 2, which would be appointing Berkheimer Tax Administrator, Pennsylvania, as the local services tax collector for the fiscal year of 2023 for a sum of 2% of the gross amount of local services tax. Resolution number 3, again, appointing Berkheimer as the collector for our amusement admission tax for the sum of 2.25% of the gross amount of amusement admission collected here in the township. Number 4 would be designating the following depositories: TD Bank, S&T Bank, United Savings Bank, Ironworkers Bank, Univest Bank and Trust, Franklin Credit Union, and Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, Pliget, as the depositories for the year 2023. Number 5 is the township fee schedule. Amanda, I don't think there were very many changes to this, if I'm not mistaken. Or not, but we...
So most of the changes had to do with the park and recreation end of the world that got sort of expanded out slightly in terms of field usage. And then there was also a minor change to signs.
Okay.
Otherwise, same as usual.
Okay. Also, resolution number 6 is the sewer fee schedule. The biggest thing there was the cost per equivalent dwelling unit is going from $4,993 to $5,496. That would be for a non-resident homeowner that is buying capacity in the sewer plant. That's what each EDU would cost. Resolution number 7 is the fees for the appointed professionals here in the township. Resolution number 8 is establishing the manager executive compensation for the year of 2023, and Amanda Sorok's annual compensation of $140,000. Resolution number 9, setting the mileage reimbursement rate per the IRS at 65.5 cents per mile for 2023. Resolution number 10, authorizing an application to Delaware County Council for the allocation of county liquid fuel funds for 2023 in the amount of $20,000. And number 11, setting our public meeting schedule and also the holidays for the township. And there are no plans to accept this complete for filing, and I need a break, so somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nate, we're going to talk about that subject that apparently we don't talk about enough, Schoolhouse Lane, please.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I've been providing updates literally every month that I've been president. If not, I provided an update to Amanda to provide. But I do have 2 good updates this evening. First, most importantly, regarding the right turn restriction at Schoolhouse in Baltimore Pike, it is scheduled to be installed beginning this Thursday using our signal maintenance contractor, Higgins, barring any sort of weather or any type of event. I will work with Lisa tomorrow on getting some sort of public notice out, and we will update the state police. So it's good to see that's getting installed. Second, regarding the deceleration lane project, that project is moving along. We have that internally being reviewed by our PennDOT consultant QA/QC team before we submit that to PennDOT for their review. Again, still hoping that'll be on target for a spring project if council's so willing.
I think, I'm speaking, I think, and I hope I'm expressing some of the concerns of all my colleagues. We do want to keep this thing on a tight timeline, and hopefully if we can get the PennDOT's going to be the biggest thing there, I think.
It's going to, I'm not too concerned about PennDOT. It's a time. PennDOT will review it, probably to go through 2 series of reviews. That process is going to take about 90 days. It'll then come down to cost and what those costs come back at, and if that's a cost that we can absorb in budget.
If my colleagues are okay with it, perhaps we should start firming up that number a little better, so once we do get from PennDOT, we know how we're going to attack this thing.
What I'll do is I'll actually tighten up a cost estimate for Amanda and Bill, so they have that too.
Real quick.
Yep. The no left turn is getting installed as early as this Thursday. Yep.
Good, all right.
Yeah, the 2 separate projects, right? The restriction, that's happening as early as Thursday. The deceleration lane on southbound Baltimore Pike, again, hopefully a spring project.
No, this is totally on us. So, but it needs to be done. I mean, it's been something that's been talked about for many, many years. Unfortunate that we had to have someone's life taken there, but it needs to be done. Okay. Nate, what do you have? Discussion of traffic signal modifications at Baltimore Pike and Apply Card Way.
I'm sorry, I was getting distracted.
Baltimore Pike and Apply Card Way. What's that?
Yeah, so in your packet is some correspondence between myself, a township resident, PennDOT, and Representative Barrar. In short,
Barrar?
I'm sorry? Williams? Wow, that's been a little while, sorry. Anyways, yeah, that's been a little while. So the complaint more or less is the resident is unhappy with the U-turn situation. If you're traveling southbound on Baltimore Pike, it says you have to yield to people making a right turn out of Applied Bank Way. We went to PennDOT, had some in-depth discussions. Unfortunately, it is a permitted operation. There's really not much we can do regarding that. PennDOT took a look. There was no crash data supporting any sort of change in that movement. However, PennDOT did suggest, in order to make this intersection safer or to improve operations, one thing they've done is they've installed essentially a right turn on red yellow flasher, for lack of a better term. So when you're traveling on Applied Bank Boulevard, you would see that yellow flasher. So that will give you a little bit more pause. To do that, permit it, get it installed by Higgins, we were estimating probably just under $10,000 to kind of improve the safety there at that intersection while maintaining traffic flow through there. So that's the proposal for council. Both PennDOT and Representative Williams were asking the township to support that project, but that would be a signal project that's on the township's dime. Fortunately, just not large enough to really be an attractive grant type project. But again, I think it falls into the safety and welfare.
What's everybody think? Good with it, or?
Yeah.
So to be clear, Nate, so this is that there would be a flashing yellow if you're turning north on Route 1 from Applied Card.
Correct.
So that it's basically just almost like a heads up.
Exactly. It gives the people making that right turn a heads up to slow down so they're not just green going while those people are making the left-hand turn or potentially making that U-turn movement. Is exactly what happens. Yeah, you're seeing them.
Right.
Yeah, mainline.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do it with, I mean, the flashing yellow, is a sign perhaps more clear about what you're looking for? Because I feel like if I'm making that right turn, a flashing yellow isn't necessarily going to indicate to me that my concern is the U-turn, folks.
I believe a sign goes along with the flasher. We still have to design it and nail it down. This is just kind of the impetus of the discussion with PennDOT. But I do want to be clear, the resident was very vocal in various emails. And while I respect all residents' opinions, her only answer is removing the permitted U-turn situation, which is not really a viable option there. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that,
All right.
that while this will improve safety and it's not going to totally address that issue.
Everybody okay with letting Nate go ahead with this? Do we need a motion for that?
I'd like to motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good work.
Nate, is there any, just with regard to Baltimore Pike U-turns, I know that you and I have discussed this previously, going northbound on Route 1, there's no opportunity to make a U-turn to go back anywhere. So if you're driving on Route 1, you basically don't have a way to get to Chick-fil-A, is the easiest way to put it. You know, so because when you when you go through each light says no U-turn, including at Evergreen Drive, which is the most intuitive place and largest intersection to make a U-turn. So the only way, if you're going northbound on Route 1 to get to the businesses on southbound Route 1, if you wanted to go to Hatfield Seafood or, well, not Hatfield, whatever it's called. Hills Seafood, or a car shop or anything, or Chick-fil-A, you basically have to turn onto Evergreen and go through the shopping center to come back out.
Yeah,
Is there a reason we can't remove that U-turn?
So, to remove the U-turn? Yeah. We can look at any specific intersection in any U-turn scenario. I don't want to speak to anyone without really looking at it. Sure. If there's a specific intersection such as Britton Lake Road that might be worth taking a second look at, we absolutely can. The restrictions, for example, with the Chick-fil-A, I was here when Chick-fil-A got approved and reviewed. That was a discussion we all had. Hey, there's going to be limitations to get into your site. Everybody went into that with open eyes, that depending on which which direction you were traveling, you were going to have some restrictions accessing that. Car sense, same thing. Hey, cars are going to have to come out our secondary access to Britton Lake Road. So those restrictions, exist and are part of the scenario of Baltimore Pike.
Sure. My concern is more just that it's not that certain intersections are restricted, but that effectively all of the intersections are restricted. So it's not like skip these two and go to the third. It's sort of like each light you hit is restricting the U-turn. So you're basically at the township complex and heading to Media before you realize that you have to go to Cheney Road probably.
Well, at that point, just go to the Chick-fil-A in
Media, right?
Or Chick-fil-A could probably build another Chick-fil-A and
True.
still be crowded.
Now, look, I think the no U-turn restrictions, they're not up there just for fun. We don't just throw them up there. There's typically a reason or a logic why they're there. I will say that sometimes they're there, and then things change. Lanes get added, turning movements get changed, uses get changed. So it's always healthy to look at them. Maybe I'll specifically look at that one kind of scenario, almost at that Britton Lake intersection, to see if that would make sense.
Well, just because isn't that,
Good.
Dominic, that's where we have room for 2 left turn lanes, but we only have 1 currently at Evergreen.
Yeah, and PennDOT will not give us the other, but when Christmas comes around, they're backed up over.
Well, and Evergreen, we've been trying to find funding to get those additional 2 lanes and stuff. So we're always looking at
Well,
options.
they just have a cross stripe, but I
Right.
remember every year we asked them about that. And PennDOT is the strangest group you'll ever meet, because someday we might not even ask for it, and they're going to go out and do it, and they won't even tell us, so.
I mean, is that second left turn lane something we can request again? And then
I
a
gotta be
U-turn
honest,
is part of that?
Now that you mention it, I swear that they were going to try and tackle that as part of this most recent
They
project.
restriped it the other way.
And they restriped it the other way.
That's also PennDOT, they'll do it twice.
Right. Yeah, that's
So
funny you mention that.
if we could follow up with them, because I think if we added that second left turn lane, we could put a permitted U-turn in the leftmost left
I hear
turn
you.
lane.
I like that. Yeah.
That's the only part of those 4 movements that isn't a double left.
Okay, I'll take a look at this.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, moving right along. We have ordinance number 400, which is the small wireless communications facility. I think, and Amanda, we had a hearing on this. I see Mr. Commit is here, if he needs to opine on anything.
Yes, that is correct. We have had hearings on this topic. Additionally, I wanted to point out the one minor thing. Should I do that now? Or do you want to introduce it further? So our staff actually asked me if we could amend the actual payable timing from January 5th to February 5th due to their timing in terms of billing and when the code department gets things out the door. So I wanted to make that recommendation, and I spoke with the solicitor earlier to see if that was minor and possible, and he said yes.
Tom, you came all the way out here tonight. You got anything you want to add?
So earlier, Nate and Amanda thanked the council for getting reappointed and so forth. I wanted to thank you because this is my 40th year. I started working for the township.
How many years, Tom?
40. Wow. So I started working for the township in 1983, and I'm honored to be back here again. After our December 6th hearing, we made minor changes to both the text and the design standards. And on balance, to add clarity, to tie together the text and the design standards, regarding not to exceed 50 feet as a maximum height for the non-tower-based small wireless communication facilities. To clarify, whenever there's historic resources involved, 300 feet from the exterior walls of historic resource, to include clarifications on security, fencing, and circulation. So all those comments, very helpful and useful. And both the text amendment, which is 16 pages, and the design standards, 25 pages, are both dated December 12, 2022. If council were inclined to take action tonight, what I would do tomorrow morning is just remove all of the bold and strikeout from the edited December 12th draft and get it to Amanda and Mr. Donahue tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right, so we have a...
Including the amended date for the payments.
Well, what I was going to suggest is we're going to have a motion to approve ordinance number 400 with the amendment to the billing date as suggested by Amanda. So do I have a motion to do that? Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So Tom, you can do what you got to do now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
We don't have an application for any yet, Karis, but they're coming. So we want it to be ahead of the curve instead of reacting to it, okay? All right. Now you got me off my game. Oh, resolution number 12. Amanda, you want to go through that real quick? That's the capitalization threshold.
Yep. So this is a housekeeping measure that our finance director had discussed with us. So this has to do with our thresholds for capitalization, which is, really an auditing function that handles the capitalization of equipment, land, supposed to be more major things, and then deals with the depreciation of those items. And we currently have furniture and equipment at $2,500, which nowadays, doesn't make sense, and we'd like to move that pendulum up to $5,000 to increase the thresholds on that. And then buildings and building improvement would be $10,000, and infrastructure would be $10,000. It's really an accounting function for us, and it makes the department's life a lot easier when you're not accounting for every little thing that basically pops off your list pretty quickly at a $2,500 threshold.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve resolution 12?
So moved.
Do we have a
Seconded.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nate, we have resolution 13 and 14, which I think are grants to the same entity. Can you just briefly go over the scopes of work covered in both of those, and then we'll do the resolution separately?
Sure. For both projects, they're both projects we've explored in the past, trying to get some grant funding for. One would be here at the township campus, essentially next to BYC, and really taking that. There's an existing stormwater basin that, if you looked at, you'd think it might be a extension of the trash dumpster. Hasn't been touched in years. Really try to revamp that, get that up to current standards. It's probably 20 years old. Get that draining down properly to the next drainage basin. So looking to really find a good stormwater project was kind of Amanda's challenge. So that was one. The second is on Andrian Road. We've got a culvert and an embankment that's collapsing. So looking to reinforce that. So just trying to find some grant money for these two infrastructure projects.
Okay, so resolution 13 would be the application to the PA Small Water and Sewer Program grant application for the work on Andrian Road Stream Restoration Project. And we're looking for a grant of $339,499. Do I have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Resolution 14 is a grant request to the same organization for the Township Campus Basin in the amount of $342,202. Do I have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Last item on the agenda is resolution number 15 of 2023, resolution governing public decorum at public meetings. Whereas Section 2.08 of the Concord Township Home Rule Charter provides that council shall establish the time, place, and rules of conduct for its regular and special meetings, and the Sunshine Act gives the public right to comment on issues that are or may be before the board. Whereas in accordance with the Home Rule Charter and the Sunshine Act, Concord Township wishes to adopt a formal policy which will allow for a reasonable opportunity at each public meeting for residents and/or taxpayers of the township to comment on matters of concern, official actions, or deliberations which are or may be before Township Council. And whereas the following policy will govern public decorum at public meetings. A public comment period of approximately 15 minutes will take place after the reports have been given before the township and before the township's new business. Number 2, any township resident or taxpayer wishing to address the council must first be recognized by the council president and then must identify him or herself by name and address. Number 3, the speaker must address their comments to the council as a whole, not to individuals or staff. Number 4, each speaker will be given 3 minutes to comment. After the speaker has made his or her comment, he or she shall be seated without further debate, dialogue, or comment. If a speaker has not finished his or her comment within the allotted time period, council president will, at his or her discretion, A, allow the speaker to continue for an additional minute, or B, request that the speaker be seated and submit the remainder of their comments in writing, addressed to the township manager within the next 2 business days. 5, speakers should refrain from making repetitive comments, and where appropriate, simply acknowledge agreement with the previous speaker's comments or positions. Number 6, public comment is not intended to require council members or township staff to provide any answer to the speaker. Council need not respond to the comment provided at the public meeting at the same time the comment is made. Consideration may be given to the public comment, and further research may be required before council takes action, if any, regarding the public comment. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Number 7, township residents and taxpayers shall be given priority in addressing council. Visitors' comments, if permitted, shall be limited to matters relating to the township. Number 8, comments shall be presented in a respectful manner, and participants shall conduct themselves in an orderly and civil manner. Personal attacks on council members, staff, or other speakers or members of the public will not be tolerated. Number 9, in order to protect the public and the township personnel, council reserves the right to remove anyone who becomes hostile, argumentative, threatens the public or an individual's safety, or is disruptive at the meeting. If the party being asked to leave does not leave or cease the appropriate behavior, law enforcement and/or a peacekeeping officer will be called to remove the person. Do we have a motion? We're going to require a motion and a second to start discussion. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussions from my colleagues? I think, Dana, you had a couple?
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to propose that we change the comment for number 1 to from 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and then also with the speaker from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. I think that just gives ample time in case there's multiple subjects on the agenda that they would like to discuss.
Okay. John, you had a couple?
Yeah, just to note that that the overall time period, if it's amended to be 20 minutes, can be extended at the discretion of the council president as needed.
Okay. All right, so I guess we would need to amend the motion if everybody's in agreement to incorporate those changes. So we probably should have another motion.
I move that we make those 3 amendments.
Okay, Dan, you want to second that?
Sure, second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next.
And then we need to vote on the total motion.
Pardon?
I think we just voted on the amendments, and then we need to vote on the total motion.
Okay, let's vote on the total motion then, too. So we had a motion and a second. All in favor of the original motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you
Aye.
for coming out.
Aye.
Thank you and Happy New Year.